What's up, beautiful friends? My name is Omid.
And I'm Stella.
And welcome to another episode of That's Crazy.
That's crazy.
How you doing, Stella, girly?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm good today. Had a good productive day. Did some shopping.
Okay.
Got my nails did.
All right. It's a little self-care.
A little self-care, just a little bit.
Today,
Today.
we are talking about codependency.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm like,
this. We both, I think we both deal with this a lot.
today we are attacking our own selves.
Yeah, today we're talking about ourselves and something we deal with.
Dude, I have dealt with so many years of the repercussions of being codependent.
What does codependence to you mean?
I think the way that it's manifested for me is like putting certain expectations on other people to make me feel a certain kind of way. So a lot of times, like I've in past relationships, which I feel like we've briefly touched about this on some like previous episodes, but we've never gotten to like a thick of it.
Right.
But yeah, like a common theme in a lot of my relationships in the past was me kind of relying on my partner unknowingly to make me happy.
Right.
And to make me feel loved and worthy and kind of validate certain things that only I could validate. And, you know, I think that that's something that's completely normal when you're growing up and you're navigating a new relationship and the relationship that you're having with yourself. So I offer myself a lot of grace in that. But codependency has truly just shot so many of my relationships to like the ground, you know?
That's honestly the best way to explain it, of that feeling of like, you know, putting that on someone else in order to fulfill what you need.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think you've had it with relationships, right? Like, have you had, and friendships. I think for me, it's been mostly like codependency with friends.
Okay.
And which I'm excited to talk to you about this because like you've seen the side of it as like a partner, but I've seen it more as like a friendship type of thing where I, you know, I'm not necessarily tied down romantically with my friends, but I hold a level of, you know, when I make decisions, I'm thinking about a specific friend and I rely on a lot of my happiness on that other friend and making sure that friend's, you know, good and stuff. So I'm excited to kind of like deep dive into that.
Yeah.
I feel like, are you the type of person that like, and we've talked about this where like at times you will cling on to a friend and like you are like codependent with them?
Yeah. I mean, I've always been kind of the type of person that I always have like one best friend, like always.
Yeah.
And though I have like plenty of other friends, I always have one that I spend all my time with, I do everything with, and that's kind of like the main staple in my life, in my friend. And so, yeah, I mean, there's been so many times too where it has been on a friendship level. I think for me, you know, I've put a lot of weight on partners in the past because I've been like, you know, unaware of the fact that I had so much to resolve in my own image and my own relationship with myself that I was constantly projecting. You know what I'm saying? Like constantly projecting that onto other people.
Got it.
So there were so many times where, you know, even with friends, like if I was going through a season where I needed to, in hindsight, work on myself, you know, establish the fact that like I'm searching for these outward aspects of life to make me happier or to make me feel like fulfilled. And I think when you're in the moment, you don't really realize that. I think it's kind of harder to like pinpoint when you're being codependent on someone.
Yeah.
You know, I think that it's almost when things start to go wrong.
Yes. You're like,
you
oh
actually,
shit. Like
yeah.
I was actually, that's, you know, that connection with them and that I was relying on that.
Exactly. But I don't think that that's something, I think that's something that's like since it's almost like ingrained into like our subconscious, it's harder to like pick up on in the moment.
Right.
You know, so a lot of my relationships in the past, like I said, like I would have problems with like self-image, right? So I would need my partner to tell me that I look beautiful and tell me that I'm an amazing person and kind of like glorify me in those ways. But then I'd always hear that and just think, like, oh, well, of course you have to say that because A, you're my boyfriend, and B, you see me in this way that like how like you don't really know who I am.
So would it backfire then? Like,
Absolutely.
So it would backfire. So then
always.
So you're saying there was a certain point in those relationships that you felt like that codependency was just not to the benefit of you.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a healthy amount of codependency that you can put on another person without it affecting you. Obviously, I think in most relationships, whether they're platonic or romantic, there is a give and take.
Yeah.
You give a lot to that other person, and usually, if you're lucky, they give a lot back to you. And so I think that, I think there's a difference between leaning on your friends and your partners and needing validation or whatever it is that you're dependent on them for. But most times that I've been codependent on anyone, it's backfired mainly just on me, because then I'm left with the idea, or not the idea, I'm left with the realization that once they're out of the picture, whether it's they're on a trip or they're working, they're busy, or you break up or you're not friends anymore, you're left with like a void in you. And only you can normally fix those things. And I think that's the thing when it comes to codependency that's just not healthy. Yeah.
That's interesting because for me, like codependency is at times a one-sided thing because, I have friends where I don't even think they know that I'm codependent of them, but I think about them in everything that I do. And I think about, with every decision, whether it's like going out with friends and, I always want to include them. There's certain people that I just want constantly there, because I feel like I have that codependency of like, I need them to be there in order to,
It's like a safety net.
It's like a safety net.
Yeah,
a safety net. And, I can be social on my own, but it's just like a weird mental thing where you feel like you need to constantly have them around you and to validate you and to, encourage you to keep going. But when really it could just be yourself that does that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, what makes you feel like you are do you feel like in general you are a codependent person or do you strive to be more of an independent person?
I think now I've gained a lot of independence because I realize that the majority of things that I would expect from other people were only things that I could give myself. So when it comes to, like body image or, childhood trauma, I believe completely bleeds into every aspect of our life. Mm-hmm. And, growing up, I felt as though I maybe didn't, get enough, I don't want to say not get enough attention, but I don't think that I had a...
Stella's breathing
I'm
up
like,
here. She's
like,
let me
say
yeah,
this
no,
without
let's say,
making it sound like my parents, didn't do a good job, because they did. They really did. But we had a lot of external things happening that maybe took away from the full development of me and having a lot of things being poured into me. And so a lot of times when I'm with a partner and I'm in a relationship, I need them to like pour into me. And that obviously stems from my childhood trauma. And then I realized like, oh, okay, well, just because I have all this baggage doesn't mean that I can't pour into myself and give myself exactly what like, the 12-year-old Stella needed. So yeah, I think that it's like, now as an adult, I've gotten a lot better at it, especially when I started to see that a lot of my relationships were failing. Like my first ever real relationship, granted, I was so young, but I realized that I was just completely projecting every one of my insecurities onto this poor person. I had so many struggles with who I was, who I wanted to become, And just, I was having an identity crisis, as we all do.
Yeah.
But I think the problem for me was I wasn't doing the things that I needed to be able to solidify who I was and who I don't want to be. I was kind of making those decisions based on what I thought my partner wanted me to be, and therefore I needed to do everything for that person.
Got it.
And I also struggle too, which I think kind of has like a correlation to codependency, is I'm really indecisive, and it's in very specific situations, but I'm pretty indecisive, so I always have to call like a friend or like my partner and be like, what do you think I should do here? Because I kind of like being told what to do, but at the same time, I also don't like being told what to do. So it's this weird dynamic,
Are you really an indecisive person?
With certain situations, yes. Like when I know what I want, no. But if I am a innocent bystander in a situation, I have a really hard time pulling the trigger on certain decisions.
I'm an indecisive. I'm a Libra. I'm indecisive. I'm always asking for people, which is something I'm working on, is just be confident in what I'm going to post on Instagram, for example. I will literally text people 12 different, I'll text 12 different people a photo of me, be is this good?
Yeah, totally.
Which I need to stop that, because at the end of the day, which it's been a thing that's, I've been working on, but it's you, and if you're happy with it, then that's all that matters. But
yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm indecisive when it comes to that kind of stuff.
And I get angry with myself about
Yes.
that, because I'm like, bitch, come on. Today,
Yes.
I'm not even joking. I was getting a pedicure, and I literally texted Eric and was like, what color do I get?
No.
And then he didn't respond, which was amazing because he was busy. So then I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do this. And though that sounds like a so superficial, stupid thing, there are especially when you deal with anxiety, these things can be kind of crippling. And I know that there are bigger problems in the world. Everything is relative. I think it's easy when you suffer from anxiety to get hyperfixated on things. And so I will get hyperfixated on something and then just completely spiral through the wall. Yep. And I think that's the difference when you lean on your friends and you lean on people that know how to not take care of you, but to help facilitate comfort. I think that that's the normal boundary. But to me, and maybe,
do you get pissed at yourself because you're for me, when I text something like this, I'm like this, how the heck do other people do it when they just can choose what they want?
Yeah, I do get annoyed with myself. I do. I think you and I don't give enough credit to ourselves, because I do think a lot of times we are very decisive on things.
That's true. That is true.
So it's not
we're opinionated.
It's not like a full character trait for us.
Yes.
But it is something that bleeds into our normal day-to-day life. Yep. And that's why, when you said earlier, you're it's something that I'm trying to work on. I'm like, I don't think that I kind of have this new outlook on my life where if I sit back and think about all the things that I need to work on, all of the things that I want to change,
there's a list for me.
I will literally die before I fix all these things. It's literally like my Goodreads fucking list. It's I keep on adding things to my books to read, and then I only read one book every 2 days, and I'm like, fuck, how am I ever gonna get through this list? It's one of those things that it's I'm trying to be. I think the new thing that I'm trying to work on is having grace with myself. And so I think that we need to be more gracious with ourselves.
So we need to be nicer to ourselves.
Yeah, nicer, fucking more patient. I feel like,
we put so much we put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
And we put way more pressure on ourselves than we ever would on anyone else.
Anyone.
I would never hold anyone to the standard and to the opinion that I hold myself. I literally think that I need to be this, and that. And with you and I, for example, I would never look at you and be like, Omid, you need to work on this. And I think that if you did this, you would be a better person. And if you did this, you would look better. I would never, ever expect those things for you, say those things from you or to you. I would never do any of that. So it's the conversation, which is kind of off topic, but the conversation that we're having is basically just, it's be a little bit more gracious with ourselves.
Be dependent on yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because in that sense, there isn't an external person saying those kind of things to you. So it's if it's just you saying it, why are we putting so much pressure on ourselves when there's so much going on?
Much.
Where then, we're all working progress. We're all, we're all, none of us are perfect. So it's might as well just fucking give ourselves a break and just like it's normal to have these emotions and normal to feel the things that we do, because like so many people have anxiety, so many people have these feelings, and it's like, you know, none of us are perfect.
Absolutely. In terms of codependency for you, like you say that it manifests a lot in your relationships with friends.
Yep.
Do people ever, you know, mention anything to you about it? Or is that something that you've just learned throughout your own like work?
It's definitely something that people in my friend group will like kind of pick up on, or like people around me pick up on, but it's more of like an internal thing, because that person's not codependent of me, you know? So it's like, I mean, I guess that's just like how codependency works. It's kind of like one-sided, right? As far as, I mean, when in your relationships, do you feel like the other person's been codependent, or is it
absolutely.
Just got it? Well, for me, it's one-sided,
but also for their own reasons.
Got it.
You know?
Got it. For me, it's one-sided.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think when it comes to codependency, it's like everyone's kind of searching for something or trying to fill the void of something that only that person can really project. So.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've had friendships where there are like aspects, you know, it could be more of one side of me, but also they have a little bit of that like codependency, you know, maybe it's like socially, you know, they're dependent on me. It's something that I'm more aware of to kind of become more of an independent. Because you said something to me today, we were talking earlier about this, and which I love, and I'm going to take this, is like, I'm a single guy. I'm single. Yeah. I'm not dating anyone right now. So the only person I needed to be dependent on anything when it comes to life, my emotions, my career, and all these aspects is really myself, because no one else is really thinking about anyone else besides himself, which in my head, I'm thinking that other people are thinking of me. And that's, I don't know if that makes sense, but like, I feel like, you know, I'm always thinking about other people and I'm thinking about what other people think of me, but that's really not how a lot of the world works. It's like, they're really one track mind and they're only thinking about themselves, which is great because, you know, it's great in some sense, but also like, I'm a single guy. I shouldn't be worried about anyone else at this point in my life besides myself.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know?
I mean, I think that when you're in your 20s and you're figuring everything out, there's so much that kind of comes in and out of life. And I do think that there is something that's really nice to be able to have the awareness of, you know, the history that you've had with codependency.
Yeah.
And be able to bring that into your relationships moving forward. Like for me, you know, I realized a lot of the fact that my relationships were ending in the past were due to codependency, because it was one of those things where, you know, I would say I would be like with said boyfriend and he would make me feel amazing. He would make me feel so good, so loved, so beautiful, so seen. And then whenever he was gone, I would feel so sad. I would feel so sad. I wouldn't really know what to do with myself. And it sounds, you know, it sounds so lame, but it's a huge thing that so many people deal with. I've had the same conversations with men and women alike, where it's like, yeah, you know, when that person is gone, I feel a void in my life.
Yeah.
And that's a really difficult thing to overcome and to find things that make you happy, that doesn't involve the other person. You know, even in my relationship now, like I think about sometimes, like if anything were to, you know, knock on wood, ever happen, whatever it may be, I want to be okay enough with myself that I wouldn't feel like completely, you know, like my world's been turned upside down.
Like you're lost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And obviously that's a complete normal thing that happens when relationships end, whatever kind of relationship it may be. But I don't want to feel like I have nothing going for me.
You want to be able to stand on your 2 feet and be okay.
Exactly. And that's why when you asked me earlier, like if I'm more independent, I have done so much work in the past 5 years that have been able to lead me to this moment. But before I would not be able to say that I would be okay. Right. You know, it's so much of my life depended on this person. even my day-to-day plans would depend on my relationships, you know? Like if I thought maybe I would see a boyfriend or a guy that I'm dating, my entire day would essentially be some form of waiting for those plans.
Oh my gosh. You like, it's so sad that you like,
so
it's so sad. Like your family is like, all right, can you come in this thing? Like, I think I can. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That happens with my friends. You put your life on hold for that person.
Yeah, and it's like, I do think that it's endearing to a certain extent, but also I think when things come, and there's a conversation of sacrifice and compromise, right? But I do think that when things come to a point where you're sacrificing your happiness or your well-being, your mental health, whatever it may be, anything, when you're feeling like things are being sacrificed from you for not the better, then that's when you know that you know things have to change.
Yeah. No, what you said was true. And especially if you ain't dating them, like if you're not in a relationship with them, like why are you putting your life on hold?
Yeah, I don't think that your life should ever be put on hold. I think for me, so often, like I've gotten so stuck on like, why is it that I do this? And it's good to know. It's good to know. I think it's so good to be able to self-reflect and dive deep into
where it's
rooting from. Exactly. But I've also had so many times in my life where it's been like, I almost like play like a victim to myself of like, well, I'm just this way because of this, and this. And like, I'm aware of it. But being able to put it into motion, I think, is the thing that is best to put our energy into, you know?
And I think I think it's just wanting to be just cared for and loved by someone.
Yeah.
Which goes with
right back. It's a fucking
into
full circle.
It's a circle.
And that's the thing. If we don't care for ourselves and we don't love ourselves, then everything that we do will lead us right back to that moment. We will keep on putting our, needs on other people.
Yes.
And then we'll keep coming right back to the place that we are in, being like, how do I fix this?
Yes.
Like, it just comes from a place of needing to be loved. That's why I don't think the cycle ever necessarily truly stops. But I do think that it gets severely fixed when the conversation isn't like, I need other people to love and care for me, because I know that no matter what, like, I love and care for myself and everything else is just a bonus.
Yeah. I need to care and love for myself more. I really do.
So what does that look like to you? Like, how would you say, like, if I'm going to care and love for myself more, to work on myself, on my codependency, what does that look like to you?
Talking to myself more.
Okay.
And I don't really, like, last night was the first night that I was in bed and was talking to myself in my head, just being like this, just going through the motions of life and, just kind of reflecting on the day and being like, Omid, like, what's going on? I don't really do that. And a lot of people do that, which I admire. And it was like the first night I did that, I was like, I just need to be very more self-aware of myself and, positive self-talk. Because in my head, I'm constantly thinking of the negatives of, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. I look like this. I shouldn't have said that. This text, well, why did I send that text like that? So it's just like, be nicer to myself and stop putting so much pressure on myself, because most of the time no one else is thinking any of the thoughts that you're thinking.
Yeah, especially the negative ones.
Yes.
If people are thinking those thoughts and saying those thoughts to you, then it's like, those are people that you don't want to have around.
You're fucked up. Literally.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. I had someone once tell me, which I don't know if it's like a commonly said thing, but it's like, the person that you talk to the most in life is yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
And so when you're spending so much time being negative with yourself and, being self-deprecating and all these different things that don't serve you, then of course that becomes your narrative. Of course, like, I think that it's so funny. I think that, like, in our generation of the millennials, like, we have such negative self-talk that just breeds so many problems. Yeah. On top of all the problems that have been handed to us from day one, so I do think it's like changing the narrative in your brain. Like you said, talking to yourself more positively and honestly and patiently, and being more kind with yourself. Like, those are all huge things to be able to fix that. And I think hobbies are also a huge thing.
Yes.
Because I think that a lot of times in my past relationships, I didn't have any hobbies. So all of my life would honestly look like, okay, on Monday I do this with this person, on Tuesday I do this with this person. I would always have my life kind of planned out because of whatever else my partner was doing. And when I started like gaining my own life, like voluntarily, because I had my own life in these instances, but like what you prioritize is what you're gonna fixate on. And when I started getting hobbies, like that shit changed the game for me. Like I literally was able to have things to look forward to. And when I was separated from whoever I was codependent on, it wasn't like my fucking world was shattering. Like I had things to do and I had my own identity to live up to. And and it wasn't just like putting and projecting all of my shit onto someone else.
Yeah. What are some ways that you have broken out of that codependency nature?
Yeah. Honestly, therapy has changed my life.
Okay.
Honestly, when I first started going to therapy, I was in a really detrimental place. I had just dealt with the loss of my father. So I felt like I had this like crazy hole in my identity that was just completely ripped out from me. I felt like I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was doing. And I was just so lost. So I started to go to therapy. And then I started to unravel all of my shit. And I started talking to the therapist about, why my relationships are ending and why I could never have a healthy relationship. They always turn toxic because of the fact that I needed them to fulfill something that only I could fulfill. So therapy, I mean, that shit completely changed my life. I talk to a lot of people about it, and a lot of people don't want to like go into their past because they think that the past is the past, but I think that the past really does define us in a lot of ways. And though it shouldn't, that affects every one of our day-to-day like decisions and the way that we react to things and respond to things. And also the other thing that I hear people say is like, well, it's too expensive. And I get that. Therapy costs money. Yeah. But if you're going to spend, if you're spending things on survival because it's food and it's water and it's housing and it's whatever that you're spending money on, then it's like, what better to spend money on your well-being, on your mental health. I think that should always be worked into your, into your fucking, what's it called? Into your like life, into your like money. I don't know what the
no, but also listen to me. If you got insurance pays for your therapy.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like completely, but it does. Like they literally pay. I pay $5 for my literal therapy. It's $5.
That's dope. So, mine wasn't even covered, but I was
I'm gonna call your insurance, babies.
Literally, because honestly, the thing is like if you're gonna spend money on anything, pour it into yourself. Yeah. Get into the habit of pouring everything into yourself. Because that's going to be the thing that rips you out of this vicious cycle. Yeah. If you're one to be codependent and deal with these things, I do think a lot of people deal with that though. Yeah. So yeah, therapy, that shit fucking helped me. What would you say?
For therapy too.
Yeah.
I mean, dead ass. Like I was talking to my mom. She was like, maybe you should see a therapist about this kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I literally called today to try to find a new therapist. Yeah. Because I'm all about that. I'm all about talking to someone out of the picture and just spilling every part of you to them. So I'm all for that, but it's also, just a day by day type of thing of just really every day, just slow it down. And I'm the type of person that's always thinking ahead and just take every moment for what it is and do what you need to feel happy in the moment now.
Yes.
In the present.
Yeah, follow your bliss.
Follow your bliss.
Live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh, love.
I mean, it's never a good feeling to, think that that you put so much on someone else to make you feel a certain way. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's completely normal. I don't think that there's anything wrong with us for doing that or having done that. Yeah. And so I think that like having the awareness of it is huge. Yeah. And then just like kind of like having a game plan of what to do to break out of that. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, we can only hope that we keep fucking doing the things that feel good for us and being around people that make us feel good, but also call us out on our bullshit and call us out on when they think that we're being a certain way. And I think that's just like the healthiest thing that we can strive for.
Yep. Damn.
Yeah.
Codependency.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing, but it's human nature and it's natural at times.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just, we're all beautiful human beings, and just you can work through it.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything's temporary.
Everything is temporary. You'll get through it. We're getting through it.
Mm-hmm.
We love you.
We love you.
And thank you for listening to this episode of That's Crazy.
We will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Mwah.